Hello and welcome back once again to Movie Reviews. So, second movie of the evening. Like I said, I'm playing catch up this week. I'm going to go see a couple more movies in the morning, but I want to get a couple of them out of the way instead of trying to make it a 5-part movie day. I figured I could do 2 tonight, even though it was kind of late, and do the rest in the morning. So yeah, second movie of the night was A Walk Among the Tombstones. Not really sure how I feel about this movie. It's kept me interested, but at the same time, I don't really know that I liked it. Like, it starts out with this hard opening where, the guy's sitting there talking to his partner, and, then he goes into this bar. Some kid comes in to try and rob the bar, doesn't see him sitting there, because he's sitting in the booth where the back of it's to the door, and it's tall enough that it hides him from view. So the kid comes in trying to rob the bar. The bartender tells him to get out of there. He shoots him. So, of course, the guy being a cop jumps up and starts firing back. They show a bit of this in the preview that I saw, which is what actually got me interested in it. Although the preview actually spoiled the reveal on this one. So, yeah, it's, again, something that kind of throws it off, but anyway, not to spoil the reveal, but, so he chases down the guys and, shoots them and whatnot, and then it just jumps ahead, 8 years, I think it was. He's a recovering alcoholic, he's in rehab, he's quit the police force, and he's a private detective now. The introduction of his partner at the start has no reference to anything, because that's how it opens, with him and his partner having this discussion. But his partner's never seen through the rest of the movie, so why have him there? It's pointless. They could have just established that he was a drunk without having the partner aspect. But yeah, so he gets hired, or sort of hired, by this guy to catch the guys who kidnapped his wife. And he goes, if your wife's been kidnapped, why don't you call the cops? They're better, or the FBI, they're better equipped to handle this. He goes, because there's no point, because I've already paid them and my wife's dead. So I want the guys who did this. So then one thing leads to another. Wait, actually, before we even got to that part, the thing about that I didn't like is they start out with the hard opening where, the shootout happens, and then when it skips ahead to the 8 years, it just kind of stops and goes into what looks like a slow love scene. It's just this girl laying there at first, and at first it's like, okay, is this a dead body? But then you see her moving, and this other body kind of moving around slowly on top of her, and it looks like, it's just this really slow, soft love scene. And then it pans back, and you realize that even though it showed her face at one point, now that it's showing her face again, she's got tape over her mouth and she's crying. And you're like, well, wait, was that just a poetic rape? I mean, it's this really soft, slow-moving, sexualized scene, but then it's a rape. It's just really weird. And going from the hard opening into this soft, slow movement thing really just kills all the energy that it had just built, that it could have just jumped ahead into the story. So then it's like, what the hell was that? And then it gets back into the story, and then, speed up to where I just was. And then you realize, then it starts to explain how that scene's starting to tie into this other story. It wasn't the guy's wife that's gone missing. It's another lady who's going through the same thing, same kidnappers and everything. She's the new victim or whatever. But it's just weird, because it starts good, then has this moment where it just kind of takes you out of you. You're like, okay, what is this? You were doing good, now you're just blah. And then it just goes back into the story, and it takes a little while to catch up to why that scene was important. They could have had it at a completely different point in the movie, and it would have made more sense. But yeah, so that was the fact that it does actually play back into it was understandable, but at the same time, it just, yeah, it was bad directorial, I guess. Take that scene, stick it a little bit further into the movie, and keep your hard opening going into the storyline, skipping ahead 8 years, would have been a lot better. So then they go through the process, and, it's just the normal, everyday type of movie where kidnapper, guys, it's basically a Liam Neeson, it's almost like Taken. Liam Neeson's chasing around the kidnappers, trying to find out where they are and get somebody back. So then it's like going through this whole process, and it actually started to look like a movie I'd seen before a long time ago, because I was kind of predicting, like, okay, this is what's going to happen here, this is what's going to happen here. But I think it had similarities to a film I'd seen before, but not necessarily was a film I'd seen before. It's kind of hard to explain without going too much into it and explaining what I'm exactly talking about, but it had a lot of, I guess, cliche moments that were predictable, but didn't quite play out the way I thought they were, so obviously it wasn't something I'd seen before. I had another note here, but I honestly don't remember what it was in reference to. I think it was some joke they made that made me laugh, and I was going to reference it, but I forgot it already, if that tells you anything about this movie. So then the big climax at the end, or the two big climaxes at the end, because for some reason they did it in multiple parts. Because he's a recovering alcoholic, they start going into the 12 steps of the AA program, and they're, like, reciting them as events are happening. But then, like, randomly around step 5 or 6, every time it's going to recite it, it goes to this freeze frame. Like, at first I thought the film had just stopped, because he shoots a guy, and then it's just, the guy's kind of, like, getting shot and turns his head, and you got, like, the explosion, and then it's just freeze framed. And nothing's being said for a moment, and it's like, okay, what happened? Did the projector break? What's going on? And then the next step in the 12-step program starts being recited, and you're like, okay, is the film going to start moving? Then it starts moving again, and then it gets to the next part where they're going to recite the next one, and freeze frame again. And it's like, why can't you just have the sound drop out, still have the action going on, and have the 12-step being read as they relate to what's going on in the picture? Which, again, they really didn't relate to what was going on in the picture at all, at least not from my comprehension of them. And I may be wrong, but they got to step 10, and then I think they actually skipped step 11 and went straight to step 12, because they would always start out strong, like step 7, and then they would recite it, and then it would be step 8. So they'd always, like, emphasize the step number. But it went step 10, and then recited it, and then just kept going, and then it goes step 12, and I was like, wait, what happened to step 11? Did they say step 11 softer? Did I miss it? What happened? So I'm not sure if they actually skipped one, or if I just missed it, but yeah, that kind of threw me off a little bit. And then, everything kind of resolves, and everything's wrapping up, and the ending just kind of pitters out. It's just like, yeah, okay, let's just, if it had ended quicker, it probably would have been better, but it drug out, showed the obvious ending to tie up all the loose ends and blah, 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 but there was really nothing going on with it. And it was just like, we had this strong bit here where the finale was, and then we're going to drift off slowly to sleep. It's like, but overall, it wasn't bad. Like I said, it has its flaws from a directorial standpoint, but overall storytelling was decent. Like I said, it hemmed and hawed a few times at different points, but yeah. Like, another thing that kept repeating was, like, he was explaining, he'd go to his AA meetings and he'd tell the story about when he finally decided to stop drinking, which he did it like 3 or 4 times, and really they could have done it like once, because then they repeated it when he's dealing with this little kid he's run into, and then and the kid's like, so why did you stop being a cop? And he's telling him, and he goes, I've already heard you tell this story. And it's like, yeah, we all have about 6 times now. And he goes, no, I've never told anyone the whole thing. He goes, and then he like goes on and on and on, and that's when it shows the part that was the big reveal, but it was actually revealed in the trailer. So, like I said, the trailer kind of spoiled the suspense that this part of the movie would have normally built. Don't show your reveal in the trailer. But then, like, it's like, okay, you know, they could have had him do it the first time and then tell the story the second time with the reveal, and it would have been a lot smoother. But hearing him repeat it over and over throughout the movie, and then be like, oh, by the way, here's the little bit I haven't told anyone. Just, yeah, it was too repetitive. You know, it could have, like I said, that, and then, you know, it kind of goes into the ending. The ending was just kind of meh. You know, it wasn't a whole lot to it. So, as far as a star rating, what would I have given it? Like I said, it was a decent film. It had a lot of flaws, but I'm going to try and give it some slack. I almost want to give it a 3.5 because I think it could have been a 3.5, but because of the flaws, it's... Unfortunately, I'm going to have to drop it down to a 3. I really wanted to give it a 3.5 because I liked it enough that I could have gave it a 3.5, but it just had too many gaping flaws in it. If, you know, patch those up, and it would have been a solid 3.5 film, but because of all that, and just the mehness of it, and the meandering, and just on and on and on, like, you're probably skipping over this, because this sounds boring, but, yeah, it's just, way too much was missed that could have been in this film. So, yeah, it's a 3. Middle of the road. It was enough to keep me entertained, but too many glaring problems. So, 3 it is. So, yeah, just kind of rambling now. God, it's like 1 a.m. now. Theater's closed. Everyone's leaving. They're probably wondering what the hell I'm doing with the camera on because I got the light on. But yeah, so that's it for tonight. Gonna go see one early in the morning and then maybe a couple later tomorrow afternoon. So I gotta get home and get some sleep after I make dinner. But yeah, so there is definitely more movie reviews coming up. Got a couple more product placements I need to try and film, but my roommates won't leave the frickin' house again, so who knows when I'll get around to doing those. But yeah, so that's it as far as tonight goes. Again, as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next episode of Movie Reviews.